little history on me. I started back in probably early mid-'80s. My buddy called me one day and said, you want to go shad fishing? I said, what are you, nuts? I said, I don't want to catch them stinky things. So I went to Dick's and bought a pair of rubber chest waders and froze my legs off because it was brutally cold in the water. And years ago, we didn't have the neoprene waders and stuff like we have nowadays where you can stay a lot warmer. But I used to get out of the water for 5-10 minutes and keep moving my legs so you get circulation back in them. Next time we went, I'd put on a pair of my wife's heavy pantyhose, and that really did a job. It really worked well. But guys would laugh at me. I said, yeah, go ahead and laugh. I don't care. My legs are warm. So, like I say, I've been doing this probably 40 years. I guide charter on the river down in the Easton Peaburg area. I've been fishing that area for just about the same time. Just a couple setups. Guys that fish from shore, inline weight, you can run a leader from here to the inline. I usually don't because the inline weight has swivels on it. Run a leader, speed clip, and a spoon on the end. When you hook your hooks in your rod, never hook them in the eyes. You're going to nick the eyes up and you're going to end up fraying a line. So I'll pass this down through. You guys can take a look at it. That's a basic shore setup if you're chucking from the shore. I like to use line counter reels when I'm running diver plugs or Dipsies off the side of the boat or off the rear of the boat, so I know exactly where I'm at. If you have an open face reel, you can take a magic mark and put a black mark on or something, some kind of mark on there. The only problem with doing that, pretty soon you're going to have 10 or 15 marks on your line and you won't know where you were at to start. So that's the reason for the line counter reels. Zero them out, drop it back 10, 15, 20, 30 feet, whatever the mood they're in for that depth. This has a swivel right here, the barrel swivel, run the leader. I run snap swivels on these because if these plugs decide to spin in the water, you have swivels on both ends. So I have snap swivels here. I run a leader down, speed clip, and a spoon on the end.
Rusty Balls hooked up on something.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, we got a shad.
Yeah. Just end of the season, baby. First shad of the season. Love there. Woohoo! They're here, baby. They are here.
Yeah.
There you go, Keebler. Fish on at Easton, baby. Here's what they call a Dipsy. I didn't bring a Dipsy with me, I don't think. I might have one back there I can show you. Dipsy, when they trip out, there's no fight at all in the lure. It's just the fish. These trip out to basically zero, where a Dipsy will fight you like 40% maybe after it trips out. So these will dive, they float, you let them out the back, and then all of a sudden you lock them up and they dive down to a desired depth. There's no rule of thumb for these, for length rather, for setting them out. You got to play with them depending on the current and on the depth of the water. But like I say, the fish hits and they trip out and away you go. The Dipsy, like I said, the weight is always towards the front, towards your rod. There's a weight on here on the bottom. I'll pass this around. You guys can look at it. What I do is I run my riggers out the side, and then I have 10-foot Dipsy rods, and I'll run the Dipsies out, and I'll turn the weight so that the lure and the Dipsy will go out past the down riggers to keep the lines from tangling. Send that around. You guys can look at that. Here's a typical dart. So you guys, how many of you guys fish from shore with darts? Or you all use spoons? Some guys fly fish for shad. There's different flies they have out there. Some guy that's down at Easton down there, he does very well with a shad, with a fly rod. There's different arrangements they make with it. That's a typical dart. These are the speed clips I was talking about. I use those to change out my lures. If you want to change them real quick, little snaps for the end of the line. They're real tough sometimes on your fingers to get them open and closed. So I went to these speed clips a couple years ago, and I love them. This is that's a 15-pound test. Typical inline weight. I'm sending around here. You guys can look at that. Flat lines. The one rod I'm sending around with the weight on, I think it's back there. We use those once in a while too on the boat. We'll put a sinker in line and run a spoon. We'll throw it out the back of the boat. It's again something you have to play with depth and length. You don't know where you're really at. If you start hitting bottom, you bring it up a little bit, reel it up, get it anywhere from a foot to 2 foot off the bottom is where the range you're going to most likely be in. I pre-tie swivels, snap swivels to swivels. So in case I tear one up while I have a charter out, I can tear it off, put a new one on. Those foam pads are a couple bucks on Amazon. It makes it real simple. You wrap them up and they're pre-made. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. It's a Hildebrandt flicker spinner. It's just a ball bearing swivel with a blade on it and a hook. And that thing, when you get in faster water, that'll spin. If your spoons stop working, throw one of these on. They've been proven. This is one more. I can't remember the name of this, but very, very unique spoon. It just has the hook the hook riveted right onto it. Very small. Like I say, if the spoons stop for you, you throw one of them on, try those, and that'll definitely help. Spoons, when you get a brass spoon where your silver spoons usually don't get dark colored from the water, where your brass ones will. I'm going to show you a little trick. These are the boxes I use just to keep them organized. I have about 7 or 8 on the boat. Every one of them's almost full. Like I said, the brass blades get discolored, I guess, from the water. I'll send that around, and I'm going to show you a little trick on the brass blades, how to clean them up. You can see that one's real tarnished. Okay, you can't even see it. Speed clip. Is that on the? Yeah, that's the end. Yeah, that's what I use instead of a snap. I used to use a snap swivel, and I downsized to the snap. And then a couple years ago, I went to the speed clips, and they work fantastic. This is what they call flits. It's like the old Brasso. You guys were in the service, you knew what Brasso was. You can get it on Amazon, couple bucks. It's a polishing compound. Take a little bit, put it on the back of the spoon, rub it in. And I'm going to cheat. See the big difference? I'll send it around. You can look at it. You want that flash in the water with the, especially when the sun's out. If the water's clear, you want to go small. We were fishing a lot of zeros last year up until the floods came because the water was so low and clear. We were doing great with the zero spoons. If the water's dirty, you want to go up either 2 or 3, size 2 or 3 spoon. That'll make it more attractive to the shad. A shad does not eat. They will hit out of aggression. They'll smack it. If we get a temperature change, 4 or 5 degrees up or down, you're going to get a lot of head slaps. They're going to hit it and they're going to knock it away most of the time. Either that or you'll catch them in the head or in the eye or something that way. They don't take it in the mouth. But the temperature, when it drops or raises 4 or 5 degrees at a shot, that's what they do. Why, I don't know. But the second trip I was out, when I was out with Don about 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that's the conditions we had that day. It was just a lot of head slaps. We lost more than we caught that day. It was just horrible. But we still caught some fish. So.
What's your favorite color?
I start off with orange and black, and then I'll go maybe pink and black. I got probably 50 different colors in here. This spoon last year, the blue glow, has an eye on it. That was very good producer for us last year.
What's the temperature that they start to bite at?
I've caught them in 46, 47 degrees. Not many, but we caught a couple. 50 is peak, or 50 is ideal for them, yes. Once they get up in the mid 60s, they want to go into spawn mode. If they're in their location where they want to be, 90% of the fish are going to try and go back to where they were bred. A shad produces anywhere from 200 to 600,000 eggs. The survival rate on those eggs are 1% between the predators and loss and whatever else till they get back out to the ocean and get up to the Bay of Fundy. So that's where they stay for 3, 4, 5 years. They come back in the river again. So every year we're getting a different strain that comes through.
Is the population increasing or decreasing?
Actually, the fish reports that you guys are supposed to do on the fishing logs, the Fish Commission is requesting, they had about 100 last year, they're requesting about 150 this year. They do their egg take up at Smithfield Beach. Last year the river was up, it was muddy, they didn't have a good egg take, obviously. Okay, the conditions weren't right. That's what they base their statistics on. So we need these fish reports to get back to the Fish and Boat Commission. You can go online, buy state shad contest. Eric has them on there. So you guys can fill them out and mail them in or email them in. They're very important for us to keep the population there. Fish Commission told us if Eric didn't run his tournament, there wouldn't be any shad fishing on the river. So I don't want to see that. That's and then they were talking about catch and release, and they were talking about different areas for different times. Like say the lower area where you guys are, maybe like April 1st to May 1st, and then May 1st to whatever, to the middle section, and then up north, later on. But that's what they're looking at. So like I say, the fish logs are very, very important. So if you guys get them, make sure you mail them in. Limit is 2, right. Yes, you can keep 2 a day. So we get them down there. The guys have 5-gallon buckets, and they hide them behind the rocks till the Fish Commission comes, and they get them. All right. Inline sinkers versus pinch-on. The pinch-on sinkers are all right, but they do abrade the line after a while, and they will slide, where an inline sinker can't. It'll keep sliding back and forth, and pretty soon you'll have a nick or 2 in your line. You go to catch a fish, and it's gone. You bring your line, and it's all frayed and tore. So that's what happens with that. I love the inlines. That's pretty much all I use. Don't look at the colors. Any questions so far? Go ahead.
On your sinker, the fly, what distance do you usually do that?
For a fly, 3 foot.
For your flutter spoon, between your flutter spoon
And the weight, 2 to 3 foot leader.
3 feet?
Yep.
Okay.
I use mono, strictly mono. They aren't line shy. Some guys use fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon, the braid's on the rocks. I used to use braid. I got away from braid because it tangles. Man, when you get a tangle with braid, you guys know if you use braid, the mess you have. But that's basic.
Well, how big of a sinker would you use?
You have to play with them.
By depth?
No, it goes by the current, basically. I carry quarter ounce to 3/4 ounce. Guys from shore ask me, well, what do I need? I don't know. Right now, the river's up pretty high. It's at, I think, like 9 foot or something.
Do you feel the signals?
Yeah, if you're hitting bottom, you're too low. You want to bring it up a little bit. If you're in a boat, if you're from the shore, you want to bump bottom. You want to throw upstream, reel and jig. So the dart or whatever you're using is going up and down, so it gets in their face in the zone. Anchoring your boat. The actual what they use for the rode for your rope is every foot of water is 7 feet of rope. So if you're in 10 feet of water, you should have 70 feet of rope out, roughly. And it depends on the current. So I run my rope in 50-foot sections, and that's your call, whatever you want to do. But that way I don't have 100 feet of rope laying on the floor. If you're anchored and you're catching on one side of the boat and you're not catching on the other side, take your rope in the front and move it. Move your boat over. I have 7 cleats on the front of my boat, so I can keep moving. I'm probably 10 feet in each direction. Works real well.
Yeah, I noticed where you're hooking your main line to your leader, you're using a barrel.
Yes.
Any reason
I just do it
that other than
just for spin, in case your lure or your either the tripsy or the crankbait will start to spin. And that's why I use barrel swivels, or I use snap swivels on the lure too.
Yeah.
Or on the
I do that usually
Yeah.
where I put the leader.
Yeah.
I just tie it at WD or
Yep. They tell you on the Dipsies not to use snap swivels, but I do, because if I want to change them out, it's a hell of a lot easier than tying them, But this is just a spool I brought along. This is 12-pound fluorocarbon, but it's just what I found in my garage today. So I use 12-pound main line and 12-pound leader. Some guys like 4, 6, 8, 10. It's preference. But my stuff gets abused every day. So that's why I went with a little bit heavier line. So it's lasts a little bit longer. Any other questions, guys? Let me get a Trixie. I'll pass that around you.
Nice paint job.
It varies anywhere from a foot to 3 foot. Yep. I don't know what it is. There's no thermocline in the river really. It's just where they want to be. If the water's dirty, we've caught them 2 feet off the bank. We've been in that much water. That's how shallow, But if it's dirty, muddy, we'll hang tight to the shore, 3 foot off the shore, and anchor up. And we'll run everything on that side of the boat's going to catch, but out here you're not. So that's the way it is. This is a Tripsy I'm going to send around. Guys can look at that. That's another poor man's downrigger rig, I guess you could call it. So,
Another question.
go ahead.
On your flutter spoons,
Mhm.
you've got like 3 different sizes.
Yes.
Does anything tell you what size to use at a certain time? Or
It's
start
base.
with the bigger one, work out if they're not hitting?
Basically, it relies on water conditions. If the water's clear, you want to stay small. If the water's dirty, go big, go 3. size 2 or 3. Yep, they have to see it. But if the water's crystal clear like it was in this video, you can see the bottom, go small. 0 or 1. If it's 30, then you need to size up.
So that brings another question.
Go ahead.
You're saying the dirtier the water, the bigger one, so they can see it. So are they feeding or are they just smacking?
Smacking it out of aggression. Yep. They want to get it out of the way. They got one thing on their mind. They want to spawn. So if the river temperature comes way up, like we get some of these hot days in May, they may spawn wherever. They may not get back to where they were bred. But that is bred into their brain, I guess. And that's where they want to be. That's where they want to go, I should say. So, all righty.
Figure a foot for each hole?
I don't know. They give you a chart. There's a chart on the back of this, but depending on current, it really doesn't, it's hard to say.
Oh, yeah.
They make those in 20s, 30s. Well, they discontinued the 20s. That's a 20 there. That's the most popular one we use. They have 30s, 40s, and 50s. We use the 50s up at the lake for browns, up at Lake Ontario. But- All right. Anybody have any more questions? Go ahead.
Still use a regular downrigger?
I'm sorry.
You still use a regular downrigger?
Yes, yes. Yep. I have electrics on mine. Simple reason I have those on. If my anchor breaks loose, I go back, I hit 4 buttons, and they're all coming up. I don't care about the lines, but I got to get the balls off the
A
bottom.
few years back, they were the cat's ass, and
Yeah.
lately, I don't know.
Some days I can go out there, nothing but riggers. Next day, go out, they won't touch it. I have a buddy of mine, he hasn't caught a fish on a rigger yet. Why, I don't know. I never fish with him, but something's not awry. So, but if you guys don't have any more questions, that's about it for what I have. I don't want to hold you up. All righty. Thank you.
A big thank you to Rusty Held of Rusty Balls Tackle and Guide Service for breaking down everything you need to know about shad fishing on Delaware River. Rusty is Pennsylvania's state licensed guide on the Delaware, so you know you're in good hands out there on the water. Whether you're looking to book a guided trip, stock up on some tackle, or grab one of his anchors, Rusty has you covered. Reach out to him directly at 484-239-4723 or shoot him an email at rustyballstackle@gmail.com.